Hey guys, what's up? Okay, so this is something that, I've been meaning to talk about. I was gonna film yesterday, but didn't end up doing, so sorry about that. But as many people already know, Disney, they're, remaking, they're rebooting pretty much everything. Um, one of them being Little Mermaid, and they decided to cast Halle Bailey as Ariel to carry this film. And a lot of people have been voicing their opinions or thoughts about this, and this is something I feel like the Lord wanted me to share, um, just based on certain things and patterns that I've seen in the entertainment industry, and just things I've just seen in the world in general. Um, and just with all the outrage of it being who it is who's supposed to be playing Ariel, it's honestly 100% it is racism. Just with being a Christian and with being a Christian who is operating in the supernatural on a daily basis, which if you are a Christian, a Christ follower, you should be operating in the spiritual or the supernatural. If you aren't, then uh, you should be. Because we are in a spiritual battle. Um, back with the whole racism thing, it's more than just a mindset, it's more than just a way of thinking. It is demonic in nature, and it is something that is rooted in our society, in our culture, and all over the entire world, racism and colorism. And a lot of people are arguing that, oh, this is, Danish origin, this should be a white girl, blah, blah, blah. And I will give it to you that the original source material of Little Mermaid is of a book that's written by Hans Christian Andersen, who also wrote The Snow Queen, which is also the source material for Frozen. And so he is of Danish descent. However, even in the film, I'm not too sure about the book. I do know a lot of the book, not a lot, but like a good portion of the book. There isn't much Norwegian culture or influence in the film or in the book that much. So that argument really doesn't stand, and also majority of the people who were really for this remake, this live-action remake of Little Mermaid, the two talents that they wanted to play Ariel are not white. You have Zendaya, who is the foundation of her career is built on Disney Channel, basically. She is biracial. She's half black and half white. And then the other one was Ariana Grande, who is Hispanic, who's more on the Euro side of things in terms of being Latina. And these two are not white. And it wasn't about Ariel being white. You just don't want Ariel to be black. And Halle Bailey is a black girl. She is on the lighter side, but she's a black girl and she has dreads as well. So she's not racially ambiguous like those two. And that's what that's about. They don't want an undeniably black girl to be a princess, to be in this light. And then there's also, the talk about Melissa McCarthy playing Ursula, and everyone's outraged about that. Because they feel that that should be a black woman playing that role, when in fact Ursula was based off of a white man. Ursula's based off of a drag queen. And so, if anything, they should be hairspraying that. Ursula should be played by a white man. Should be played by a white man if you really want to go that route, and it should be accurate. And this whole argument about how they're just stripping away their Norwegian, Danish culture by casting this black girl, it's completely ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense. and they're upset that, okay, you guys have Tiana, so you should be satisfied with that, and we shouldn't be taking away their, again, like, all these arguments are completely ridiculous because it doesn't make sense, and if anything, the roles that were actually for us have been taken from us and given to these white actors and white performers, and you see it constantly, not only fictional but non-fictional as well. Um, you know, you see it with Hunger Games with Katniss. Katniss was supposed to be a black girl. Harry Potter with Hermione. Kevin Spacey, when he did Pay It Forward, the role that he played was actually supposed to be a black man. In the book, it's a black man. There's a film that Anthony Hopkins did where he was supposed to be a light-skinned black man, and it's like, really? There was another film that Mina Sabari did that was based off of true events that was actually supposed to be about a black woman, but they hired her, and then they had the audacity to put cornrows in her hair, so you just know. So you know this is about a black woman, but we don't want a black woman like carrying this film. They did another film back in 2007. I think it was called A Mighty Heart, with Angelina Jolie, where she's supposed to be playing a mixed race woman, who, and this is based off a true story. She's supposed to be playing a mixed race woman who is black, Chinese, and Cuban, and they brown-faced her, and they've been doing, this is nothing new, they've been doing this. You go back to West Side Story, they had a white girl playing Maria, and then they had her emulate her Latina co-star, and copy her and speak like her, move like her, but they didn't want the Latina to play the Latina. And we constantly see this. We constantly see this, both fictional and non-fictional. First of all, why are we arguing about a mermaid? It's a mermaid, dude. Come on. It's a freaking mermaid. Who cares who's playing it? Let someone who actually has talent, someone who can act and sing, or sing and act, play this role. Why is that? I don't see, and it really is because she's undeniably black. So it's just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And then go back with Ursula should be a black woman, but it's actually based off of a white man. And in fact, it really just goes down to this, that they don't want a black woman to be the protagonist. They don't want the black woman to be attractive. They don't want the black girl to be a princess. They don't want her to be royal. They don't want her to be kind. They don't want her to be approachable. They don't want her to be the object of someone's affection. They don't want her to have the happy ending. They want the black girl to be ugly. They want her to be fat. They want her to be sassy. They want her to be a mammy, a doo-doo mama. They want her to be everything but someone who is desired for it. It's more so the dark-skinned black girl, not so much the light-skinned, because they'll put on the pedestal, they put the light-skinned black girl up on the pedestal. We've seen that time and time again in entertainment. You see who is up on the pedestal, who is getting screen time, who is getting the awards, who is getting all the accolades. You see that in terms of these black artists, and it's sad that that's what we've allowed to happen. It's sad that that's what is the fact that the lighter complexion that you have, the more desirable that you are. And it's sad that it's even come to the point where you even see it in who's chosen for voice acting. Disney, obviously, they put out Disney Plus. When that launches, they were gonna be able to see the live action version of Lady and the Tramp, where you have the voice actor for Lady is a light-skinned black woman, and then and I can't remember the other dog's name. I can't remember her name. But Janelle Monáe is supposed to be the voice of her, and this dog, she's supposed to be very trashy and very just like unkept. And you see, even with that depiction, you have a light-skinned black woman who is polished, who's desired, who is the object of the tramp's affection, and then you have the other dog, both being voice acted by black women, just so you know. Both animals, so despite of it being light skin versus black skin, they're still saying, no, you're a black one, so you're an animal still. So you have the more undesirable dog being played by a dark-skinned black woman. So just see with that. So it's just makes me sick, and it makes me sick that we are allowing this to be in front of our children, and even makes me more sick that we have adults who are arguing over a film that is marketed towards children and families. It has nothing to do with these. Why are you worried about it? And nothing against Halle Bailey, I hope she does well, but same time, this is another thing why I feel like we really want to talk about this, because I don't see this as a win, for the simple fact that it's still the entertainment industry, and for the simple fact that there are still some patterns that I have seen personally in terms of casting and putting certain people in certain roles for something. So I always look at the details. I don't look at the big picture. I look at the pieces that make up the big picture. And it's important that we do that. And it's important that we take this with a grain of salt, especially in the black community, because we have to see how they're going to treat this. Because it's not going to be a carbon copy of the animated version. And we have to look at who's going to be cast alongside her. They've always also talked about Harry Styles possibly playing Prince Eric. So we're definitely not going to get a black prince. You can get off of that one real quick. But and Halle Bailey has an amazing voice. However, in the film, she's going to be mute. And also makes me think, okay, we have Tiana. She's our first black Disney princess, but she was a frog for the majority of the film. So she was an animal for the majority of the film. The black girl was an animal for the majority of the film. And so with that, and the fact that you have Melissa McCarthy potentially playing Ursula, you have a white woman taking the voice of a black girl and rendering her mute for the entire film. And this is a depiction that I've seen before in other iterations, but it was in something that was more dark, particularly with the Vampire Diary universe. So in season 7, they introduced these creatures called heretics, which are half witch, half vampire beings, which that's not even what heretic is, that's actually a biblical term, but that's another topic in of itself. But they had this dark-skinned black man who was mute, and he had a scar on his neck, and later in the season we saw that he was actually stabbed in the neck by this vampire hunter who they later introduced, who was more, she was definitely European. She looked a lot like Nina Dobrev, so she's definitely, if you just saw a picture of her, you say, oh, this is a white girl. And it was definitely period-based, so they were, I would say it was like probably early 1900s when this happened. So you have this picture of this white woman stabbing a black man in the throat. And in that scene, before that happens, we just hear him sing. So, and that's the first time we actually hear anything come out of his mouth. So, up until that point, he was just mute. And then later, that vampire hunter, she comes back and she kills him, and his soul actually gets trapped in the weapon that she kills him in, and it later gets destroyed, and then his soul ends up inside a body of a white guy, and then we actually hear the character speak, but it's a white man who's speaking. And so we never actually hear the actor speak. We hear the character speak through a white man, and then Damon kills him. And then later in Legacies, we see the same thing, where we see a lighter-skinned black woman. It's the second episode of Legacies. They see this mute, lighter-skinned black woman, like walking through the woods, and she's wearing sackcloth. So she looks like a runaway slave. She's mute, and she's looting all these wallets and cell phones and jewelry and all this stuff. And you're just like, what the heck? So all you see is, it's so, like, really? Like, this is so racist. This is disgusting. You see this black woman looking like a runaway slave in sackcloth and burlap, running in these woods, stealing all this jewelry, cell phone, all that. And then later you find out she's a dragon. And this isn't the first time where they've had a black woman portray a dragon. And you see that in the Shrek stage adaptation. They cast a black woman to play the dragon, opposite Donkey. It's played by a black man, obviously. And you know, so anyway, all this magic stuff happens, blah blah blah. And she morphs into a dragon, then she turns back into her human form, and she's just lying on the ground. She's like bloody, she's bruised, and you see Alaric, a white man, who's like standing over her. She's like overpowering, and he has a dagger in his hand, and he stabs her in the throat. And that's the only way that she could die. It was in her human form. She had to be stabbed in the throat. And so, yeah, when I heard about this, all these things come up in my mind, and I'm putting Halle Bailey's face onto all these situations where you have Ariel. When she first comes on land, after she gives up the voice, she's like draped in burlap, so you can have this little black girl coming up on the sand from the sea, looking like she's a runaway slave, and she's gonna be found by this white Harry Styles, and brought into this palace where she could possibly be assimilated, to where they use that dingle hopper to take out all those dreads in her head, and you may end up with a long flowy hair. We don't know how they're going to treat this, and we also don't know if they're going to be more true to the film or the book, the source material, because in the book the prince was a jerk, and in the book he did not treat the mermaid very well, and in the book she doesn't end up with him. He ends up with someone else, and the sisters play more of a role in the book. And they actually go to the Sea Witch, and the Sea Witch gives them a knife in exchange for their long flowy hair. And they tell Little Mermaid that if you kill the prince and let his blood drip on your feet, then you can return home, be a mermaid. And she decides to not do that, and she ends up dying. Because in the book, pretty much if she does not get the prince to fall in love with her and kiss her and all that stuff, then she ends up dying and turning to sea foam, which ends up happening. But then it gets really weird, and she becomes like this ethereal like air creature and all that, and it turns into something. It's really weird in the book. But again, you don't know if they're going to use that as the source material for this screen adaptation. Because they could easily, because they've been doing all this like independent woman trope for the past few years, you know, with Brave and with Frozen and Moana. Like, I'm an independent woman, I don't need no man, I don't need no prince to save me, and I'm gonna save myself, and da-da-da. They could easily deal with that. And again, that's why I say don't take this as a win, but take this with a grain of salt, because we need to see the treatment of this and how they're gonna do this. And if they're going to assimilate this little black girl in the film, or if they're going to stay more true to what we already know, or if they're going to really ham it out and really fantasize and fetishize slavery in this. And also just go back to the voice thing. What the Lord has shown me about the voice is that it's more than just voice, but it is about freedom, and it's about liberty, and it's about the freedom of expression, and expressing like who you really are, and that there's so much that goes on with your voice, and the fact that you have so many different depictions and illustrations of a black person's voice being taken away from them, especially in those brutal ways. It shows how the entertainment industry does not value us as black people, and how they really want to silence us and take away freedoms, and take away our liberties, and take away what makes us us, take away our culture. And you see that how they're constantly trying to make us assimilate, and then they take everything that makes us us and they appropriate it and try to make money off of it. So, and succeed in that because we allow them to, and we don't speak up against it. And we need to be people who are going to speak up against it, who are going to be more united about it, and vocal about it, and also be people who are going to speak with eloquence about it, and who are going to not be belligerent and be like all over the place, but really come to a place where we are taken seriously, and we're taking a stand, and we're going to say we're not going to allow you to continue to treat us this way because of X, Y, and Z, or however you feel, that you're going to treat us with dignity and respect, and you are going to portray us with dignity and respect, and you're going to allow us the same opportunities as our white counterparts, because again, they're not, because I don't see them as the enemy, because I know that it's definitely more of a spiritual thing. And so I think we need to really understand how to combat this, and really understand the strategy on how to really approach these things. But yeah, that's just something that the Lord's placed in my heart to share, and I hope you guys were blessed by this. And if you were, on my social medias, I'm on Facebook at the Aiden-Jeffrey, and Instagram and Instagram and Twitter at Aiden-Jeffrey. And remember, you were made on purpose and for a purpose, and as long as you walk with fiery passion and perfect peace, there's nothing you can't do, there's no mountain that you cannot move. So until next time, love, peace, and hair grease. Bye, guys.